is the Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast, bringing you this week's RBC Heritage out at Harbour Town. And as always, the show is sponsored by DraftKings. Use code FGD when signing up as a first-time depositor. We'd really appreciate that. We appreciate all 7,000 of you that liked and watched the show last week. That is easily the best, as my co-hosting capabilities can get us there. I'm sure Kenny's had a couple shows back in the day that were crushing those numbers, but you only live in the world you can. And as an appreciation post, Kenny, thank you so much for having me on as your co-host. I couldn't wish for anyone better to do this with, and happy to take this show to higher and higher heights with you. How the hell are you, my friend?
Yeah, it was a fun show last week. We do appreciate all the fans listening and stuff like that. What an event! It was a great week. It was a good watch for the majority of the time, except for maybe a couple of instances there on the final day. Pretty impressive stuff by Roy, right? Looking back, I don't think I think Jack and Tiger had like a 10-year drought, right? When they won in 86 and in 2009, respectively, or 2019, respectively. But I don't think anyone's ever won two after a 10-year drought. This is really like coming back from a 10-year drought of major, like not winning in 10 years. Your major careers for 99.9% of people is over, right? Yeah. You're not going to win again. You might, get close, but it's never really happened before, except unless your name's Jack and Tiger, and it happened before then. Way back in the day. Before our times, before probably our father's times. But to do that was impressive in the way he did it. It was like, I got to admit, it's fun to watch him at the Masters because you never know what the fuck you're going to get, right? It's like, It's almost like a Spieth-esque quality, but not like a per shot basis. Like you guys know what I'm talking about. It's just, you never really know what you're going to get with Rory. From a day-to-day basis at the Masters. It could be one of the greatest rounds ever. I think when history looks back at that back nine on Friday, probably his best golf he's ever played in his career. One of the best for the situation, how he shot, birdieing 6 of the last 7 holes on Friday. When me and you were old and gray and we look back at, Rory documentaries and stuff like that, I think we're going to see highlights from Friday, a bunch. Really, really impressive stuff by him. What did you think of Rory's victory?
Well, yeah, I think he lost strokes over the weekend, right? Like that's the situation he found himself in. And it kind of reminded me of when you first skate electrics, those cards that you put in the slots with the just one, it's just go or like fast or slow. That's how you get your car around the corners. And there's side barriers and there's people to put the car back on it like every turn for Rory, it seems, because he can just go flat out through the corners and wipe out. And then someone's just putting him back or someone's wiping out into him and getting back on track, whatever's the deal. But it was quite a boring Masters on Sunday, once we kind of figured he was going to win the damn thing, but we could have seen so many. I think the beauty of the Masters is someone getting a green jacket, and Fred Ridley putting the green jacket back on Rory is kind of like anticlimactic a little bit. I think we wanted to see Rory because you see that person in the back of that other person's photo for the rest of Patrick Reed, I think who was it before him? It was someone, we should know this, but Patrick Reed putting someone else's jacket on is always going to be there, so it's kind of cool having Scotty B, your background guy, whatever, but Fred Ridley, the background guy, it is what it is. So he just gets it done, man. He just gets it done.
Here's the thing. I don't think it was a boring final round. 4 different guys had the lead at some point in time in that final round. I just think people didn't take advantage of their situations. You had Rose take the lead and then go 5-4-5. Look, as much as that story would have been incredible, he blew it. Right?
He did.
Blew it. Cam Young, who, I had another guy, who had the lead in my betting card in the final round on Sunday, back-to-back weeks after winning 3 in a row. The variance with the golf gods, they're going to get back at me. It couldn't happen. But he had 15 foot inside 15 feet for birdie on 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Right? You make one of those, you make Roy sweat a little bit more. Right? You make 2 of those.
Dude.
You make 2 of those, you're in a playoff. Right?
Justin Rose just needs to not 3-putt on 13 and not miss that short putt on 17, and he's in a playoff.
Yeah. And then you got Henley, who had a chance too, just couldn't make some birdie putts at the end. That was a pretty impressive round by Russell on Sunday.
Sex Panther Platinum, man. He's balling out, dude. Russell Henley, shout out. Russell Henley appreciation. Now, T3, couple of his best finishes is now at the Masters. Got a T4 and a T3 over there.
5 top 5s in his last 8 major appearances.
Yeah. People underrate this guy.
He seems
so much. So much. So we'll see what he does.
Over the hump. The funny thing is Rory shooting even par on the weekend and winning. That is incredible. How big of a lead he had. And that's why I think Friday was so important. What were you going to say?
So T7, so there's 6 guys that are top 3. 6 guys tied for top 3. McIlroy, Scheffler, Rose, Young, Henley, and Hatton. What were their best strokes gained putting? The leader of them is Rory McIlroy at 17th. They're all sitting between 17th and 32nd in strokes gained putting this week. They are 1st through 7th in strokes gained tee to green. Xander Schauffele is the only one not inside the top 5 who's 6th in strokes gained tee to green. So it is a tee to green golf course. We've seen this now over and over, and it's just who's going to put it together that way. It's insane to see. Russell Henley leading the field in strokes gained approach around Augusta. So shout out to Russ in that department. Scotty Scheffler, 5.5 strokes gained on approach in round 3. We started to see Scotty. We haven't seen an round like that yet. This guy hasn't eclipsed 5.5 strokes total on approach this year in a tournament, and he did it in 1 round. So I think he's back. Shout out to Justin Rose, Kenny, who's just 45, 46 years old, and he's basically T2 again, finishing 2nd at the Masters in back-to-back years, where basically Rory McIlroy is the only person that's beat him at this golf course in the last 2 years.
Yeah, he's like old British Usti.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's amazing.
South African born, by the way.
It's amazing what he's doing, right? But at some point, you got to be like, he's put himself in all these situations. Can he get one? This might have been. I will say because the way he's playing, the way he's in shape, the way his swing looks, he's not injured. He's obviously playing high level golf. I don't want to say it's the last opportunity. Because I'm sure
he was 2nd tee to green. He was 2nd in the field. Like that, you don't just do his putter let him down, and that's usually what, like, if he just showed up with the putter like we've typically seen, he was the best putter in majors going into this week, and he was the worst of the guys inside the top 5 putting wise. He was 32nd, which is insane to think of. So I think this was the first one that he's kind of really thrown away, in my opinion. He messed up Amen Corner badly. He basically threw 3 shots away quite easily at Amen Corner. But the year before, he got himself into the playoff on Sunday. He got himself there and didn't lose it. Rory took it, to be honest with you, but he lost it this week, unfortunately. Patrick Reed, fucking big swings for me. If he just top 5'd, I have a monster week. Kenny, I gained 0.8 units this week. So I kept the card tight, and the placements came through. I cashed Harris English top 30. I cashed Patrick Reed top 20. Went 2 units on Patrick Reed. We had the Patrick Reed ladder. He finished 12th. One more shot there. Boom, we cashed that. And Justin Rose top 20 as well. So we cashed our big 3 placement bets. I had Justin Rose each way for first round leader. He finished 6th. I had 5 places. Womp womp. and then we had Justin Rose to win the tournament. So like, if I could have manipulated the leaderboard by 3 shots, we have a really big week this week, and it is what it is. So I was happy with how we went this week at the betting side of things for sure.
Yeah,
it was a fun week.
Reed's birdie on 18 kept me afloat in cash. I would have won in all of them except the $100 one, which is the big one that I put in, right?
Yeah,
the $100 double up. I was in 74th place, 75 cash.
Wow.
So I doubled my normal cash allowance. So it was good. I mean, I also added a bunch more in GPPs. So instead of losing like 1 or 2 units, I lost 3, but I could have lost 14, right? So that was big in cash. Cash lineup 1. I went with cash lineup B. Cash lineup A would have lost by like 3 or 4 points. So I appreciate you having me switch that up in the middle of the show last week. That helped a lot. Outright wise, I had Cam Young in the mix, of course. He got a place, but it was chopped to death. So that wasn't great. But if you follow me on X, I was on so many shows, I was asked to do for like certain type of bets that I normally don't do. All right. And so I put those on my card on X. I had a Day versus Strzok on my matchup for 2 units. Day hit that. And then I had a 4-man top 20 parlay with Fitzpatrick, Cam Young, Reed, and
Xander.
That one all hit. It was like 11-1 almost for like a unit. So I won like, $550 on that one. So for the gambling process, I actually was up by like less than you. I was up like 0.2 units. Like I was up like
that
$10,
is
$13.
Together we are up a unit, baby. Like that's if you can say that every Monday afternoon, that is all we're looking for.
Or here's the thing. Like grinding out tiny profits is a necessity in long-term golf gambling or long-term DFS. It's a necessity. Yes. You have to do it. Okay. But it just sucks happening during the week of Augusta, right? It just sucks to have it happen. The week of
had a couple close calls though. It is what it is. I want to shout out Shane Lowry. Kenny, you mentioned Patrick Reed's heroics on 18. Shane Lowry's heroics on Sunday, shooting an 80 to fall all the way down to T30 on the number. If he shoots a 79, Harris English finishes T31, we don't cash that top 30. Shane Lowry tumbled down the Guinness board all the way to T30 on the money. Hit it in the water on 16, par 17, missed a 5-foot on 18 for a bogey, and it was delightful. It switched the week from being a net loss to a net positive. So, you just got to celebrate the good things out there. You really got to take the good when they come, and that was, just a delightful tribute from the big man who nuked my top 20 in all 4 majors tickets with my father-in-law and I in 2025. Doing the same thing. Him and Rory, he like, they share the same emotional reserve, and I think when Rory has to suck that tank dry to win the Masters back-to-back, Shane's got nothing to draw on. They share the same like vibes bag, because when Rory won the Masters for the first time last year, Shane fell to T42 after starting the day 6th. Shane was in the second last group and finished 30th again this week. So truly, truly incredible. Like Shane's busy going to the drop zone there on 16 while Rory's walking up to 15 trying to win the Masters again. And Shane's like dropping 10 yards in front of him because he rinsed one. So shout out Shane Lowry. You got to appreciate the good when they come. I know he's burnt me a couple times, but he helped us out.
I'll talk to the same thing with Scheffler. Sort of ice Scheffler. Yeah. But Scotty didn't make his chances either. Like he got to 9 under at like the 6th hole. And then I think he parred like 10 in a row before finishing very strong. So he makes one, he does something there. And then of course, on his round on Saturday, which is with the best round of the week, 65. Yes, it was an amazing round, and it's an incredible round. But the thing is, like, he parred the 2 easiest holes on the back.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, like, I know Jason Sobel got a little bit of backlash for asking that question on Saturday about Scotty because he did shoot a 65, right? But here's the thing, like, in defense of Jason, like, Scotty's not like a normal guy. For like 99.9% of guys on tour, if you ask the question Sobel did, where he asked him, how do you feel about your round, basically, after a 65, Jason was just trying to get him to push him to say that he left a few out there. Because honestly, he did. He truly, truly did. He could have shot 62 real easy, right? And he didn't want to be a dick and be like, yo, Scotty, you left a couple out there. How do you feel about the round? He let Scotty like take the lead on that question, right? To go whichever way Scotty wanted that question to go, right? Which is, journalistic. For guys who work in the golf, they have to deal with these guys all the time. I mean, it gives that wrong type of journalism. I don't know. He was still tiptoeing around Scotty, with the way he asked that question. He was still tiptoeing, right? And Scotty, basically said it's a horrible question and shut him down. They're pretty rude about it.
It was pretty rude, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And like, but the thing is, like, here's the reason why, because it's Scotty. He's the best in the world at this point in time. It's possible that he could be an all-time great, right? We've heard Tiger say this before. I've left some out there. We've heard Rory said it before in lower rounds. It could have been lower, right? I mean, it's not like it was like a weird thing that's never been said or, never been answered in that way, right? I think he left some out there. He parred the 2 par 5s on the back, the 2 easiest holes on the back 9, right? And you could say, revisionist history. You can look back and like, he missed this, he missed that. But like, they just stuck out to me because they're par 5s, right? It's not like, you can miss a 3-footer. It happens, right? I mean, that's going to happen. Yeah, you can hit the ball into the water. That's going to happen. But to be playing such a great round, right? And then shooting even par on the 2 easiest holes on the back, when you're the greatest golfer out there, you ask that question. I had no problem with it, and I think it caused it. I mean, yes, it's revisions, but I think that cost him the win.
I mean, it's 65, 68. It's the first time someone's gone bogey-free over the weekend, right? At Augusta, in like the last 84 or something ridiculous. So it's an insane accomplishment. I will get back to Jason Sobel's question to Scotty. Is you ask that question to any professional, they will answer it perfectly fine. I think with Scotty, he is like, don't ask him to give you a fictional reply, a hypothetical situation. He just likes to deal with like facts. It's weird. It's the weird thing. Like if someone asks him like, how would you feel as a dad if you had a girl? Like, those kind of questions for Scheffler. It's like, I don't think he wastes his time thinking about shit that doesn't matter. Like what could have been for a round doesn't matter to him. It has happened. It was, moving on. What are we looking at?
That makes a lot of sense.
Like
that makes a lot of
asking Scheffler these kind of hypotheticals. I've seen him do this to all the people that ask him these questions. He hates speculative stuff. Like he'll ask you about the fundamentals of a golf swing. He'll give you like the Bill Belichick 9-minute answer kind of thing. Like give him shit that he wants to talk about, not like having to make up a scenario. Like he doesn't deal like that. It's weird. So,
the other big, sort of negative thing about the week was the TV coverage, right? Personally, for me, the first 3.5 days I thought was fine, but I'm watching it different than probably everybody else.
Got all the computers up.
No, I don't even use my computer. I have 4 TVs in my room. And so I have the main feed. I have the like either 4, 5, and 6 Amen corner or 15 and 16 on the other on another TV, and I have the quad box on the other TV. So I was able to watch as much as I wanted. Like it wasn't that big of a deal. Now Sunday, I get it. In the beginning, they missed a lot of shots, but I don't think there's been like 10 to 12 guys within 2 or 3 shots of lead on a Sunday at the Masters in a very long time. So maybe I would personally maybe give the producer the benefit of the doubt, right? Because he's like, man, I gotta show this shot, I gotta show this shot, I gotta do this. And all the shots are important, but you got 10 guys within 2 or 3 strokes of the lead. You're gonna miss some shots. I mean, it's going to happen.
Hello,
now.
Friends. Welcome to Augusta. It's a very slow-paced beginning to your Sunday broadcast. We're not going to show you Sam Burns coming in from right field on 2. We're not going to show you Tyrrell Hatton making 3 birdies in a row right off the bat. It's just the pace needs to be set. There's an atmosphere that they're trying to generate. They can't just rip you 8 highlight reel packages off the bat. I get it. At the same time, fuck it, it's America. Let's NASCAR this bitch. We've got a leaderboard that needs to be shown. Like, let's go. If you
had the quad box and you had the multi, it was not difficult.
Yeah,
it was on everything. Now, I will say the final couple of holes, right, especially the last one, not having the ball flight on Rory's shot really brought down the nature of the difficulty of that shot and like the dramatic moment of that shot. Because you saw the picture
the
where
second approach shot.
That shot was fucking hard as shit. To hit it in the bunker where he did was mad skill.
Like a 50-yard hook, probably. Kind of like Bubba Watson-esque.
And we did not get to see that at all. Yeah. Definitely ruined that hole, along with the fact that the only camera angle they had on the winning shot, you couldn't see the ball go in the hole. I mean, that's 101 stuff. That's film 101.
Yeah, he dropped his
head. You have to see the ball go in the hole.
He dropped his head. He's like, oh my God, he didn't hit it.
Yeah. I mean, some people might have thought that because like slumped their shoulder. Like, you didn't know if you saw it. I mean, like, that was bad. That was really, really bad. But it's the Masters. It's the best coverage we get. Whatever. I'm not going to make a big stink out of it.
It is what it is. I wasn't too, it didn't bother me because, again, I had 2 TVs with a big laptop screen as my third screen. My favorite part about Augusta's, like the Masters app, is you get My Group. You go and find all your favorite golfers, you click them, and then it just shows you every single one of their shots in just a raw feed underneath there. So if you're like if you're watching Patrick Reed miss every putt under the sun, he's just coming under there, right? Because you barely saw any Patrick Reed. If you got without a couple shots of the leaderboard on Sunday, you weren't part of the coverage. Like we never saw any Xander. Max Homer, shout out Max Homer, who's now made a living here, 3rd, 12th, and 9th in his last 3 Masters, and he has not been playing good for probably like 2 years now.
I mean, he's lucky or he wouldn't have played the last 2. Top 12,
I know,
right?
He's like the guy's living on stipends to the max, back to college, pocket money type stuff that they give him 1 Augusta start a year, and he's making the most of it, man. Shout out to Homer there. Sam Burns still struggling to find his first top 5 in a major. T7 went into the round in the second last group inside the top 5. Birdie's hole 1. It's like, oh, buddy's back. Top Gun, eject button, goose, see you later, hole number 2. We don't know what the hell happened on that hole.
I think he's going to be in contention again this year. Like, if you look at the
showing up.
2024 U.S. Open, he had the best score of the final 66 holes. 2025 U.S. Open, he had the best score first 66 holes. First 66 holes. Masters 2026, second best score through the first 55 holes of the Masters. Like, you just got to clean it up just that little bit. He impressed me. Yes, his Sunday wasn't great, and no, he has not been great on Sundays at Augusta. But the more times you're in that situation, hopefully, just odds of just law of averages. First off, second, learning from that situation.
Yeah. Well, he did. You know, he shot a 73, lost a stroke to the field. He made a monstrous mess of hole number 2. You know, I think he made a double there, and then he bogeyed hole 3 as well. So tough stuff for him. But again, clawed his way back down the stretch. You know, that could have easily been a very bad round from him. But he, cashed his first top 10 at Augusta. So you got to start somewhere. And now he's got positive stuff to build off of. Shout out Brian Campbell, career best finish at Augusta with the T24. I think that improves on his T27 from last year. Wyndham Clark, still only 2 top 20s in majors now. A US Open win and a third place at Port Rush, or 4th place at Port Rush. Matt Fitzpatrick still looking for a top 10 at Augusta in the last decade. Interesting to see that happen. Jake Knapp continues this ridiculous situation where he keeps finishing like 11th through 6th or 5th. Showed up in his first major, and he had one T55 as a made cut back in 2024 at the Masters. Now he's gone 11th as an official major track record. So big finish for him. Patrick Cantley, passenger on Sunday, not surprising. T12, solid work there. Hideki Matsuyama, yet again, sitting inside the top 20 at Augusta, but no top 10s. You know, that's one top 10 since the win in 2018 is hilarious. Brooksy, Kenny, spun his wheels, man. No, nothing worse than a 72nd, 72 or a 69. It was just couldn't get it going this week for Brooksy. Any thoughts on any names we mentioned there as we kind of get out of here?
Putter looked a little bit better for the week. Yeah, I mean, you saw him making some stuff. I would expect him to be in this field coming up this week. I don't know if Morikawa is going to play. Morikawa played. Morikawa was impressive too. To do what he did. Now, I know some people are saying he's pulling a Paul Pierce out there.
I think so too.
I mean, maybe he's a little bit more really egging on the injury. But I mean, if you watched him, I mean, he looked like he was really struggling. And to do
that is his alter ego. That is his alpha alter ego. It's little bitch boy dad back. You know, like that's when Colin Morikawa is at his peak. Is like, I'm just gutting this through, man. You know, but he's probably got like a 2 out of 10 pain scale. Let's be honest. But he's making it look like
impressive.
Yeah.
But I mean, if he plays this way, people are really going to question him. So my guess is he withdraws and Brooks get in because Koepka is the first alternate. So I would guess that's what's going to happen, but we'll see.
I know that Brooks can't get in off a sponsor's invite. I know that.
First alternate.
And somebody withdrew. Rosie withdrew, and somebody else is in already.
Brooks got in.
Okay, so we are on the same page there. Brooks would be the next guy in then, right? Okay, as of 4:40 Central Time on a Monday. Kenny, anything else you want to chat about? I had a great Masters weekend. Just back to the grindstone, man.
Yeah, well, going back to, I took off since Wednesday. And so, of course, getting back to work today was a fucking struggle. There's no doubt about that. But
hey,
let's go ahead.
I love you. And to all of you that had to go back to work today, we did it. Monday's over. Congrats. Happy Tuesday morning. Happy Monday night. We did it together. It's one of the bluest Mondays out there, I'd say, is the day after Augusta Sunday. Mm-hmm. So much love to you all out there.
All right, so let's get to this week. Let's get to the RBC Heritage. Let's start off with the course. After, a historic Masters, right? The PGA Tour shifts a few hundred miles up the coast to head to Harbour Town Golf Links for the RBC Heritage from Hilton Head, South Carolina. This Pete Dye designed track has more of a classic old school feel, with strategy and placement being much more important than power and length. Course history is normally a big part of this event, as you continually see the same names on the leaderboard year in and year out. because these golfers know the ins and outs of the tricky target golf layout. You don't see too many courses like this anymore on tour. So it would make sense that finding the correct strategy here would take some time to figure out. But the field is way stronger than it once was in the past, which could make the strong course history narrative somewhat moot. Personally, I think when it comes to like upper echelon golfers, which of course is what we normally see in a signature event, I think that knocks down the course history for those guys. Like because if especially if their recent form is extremely strong, right? And I'm talking about like top 25 golfers in the world, top 20 golfers in the world. If they haven't had the best, I mean, you look at Cam at the Players, right? Would be my first example. Miscut and then no start better than 55th, right? Before his win a month ago. Now, leading up to that event, you could tell the motherfucker was on point, right? And so, personally, I think when you're looking at course history for top tier guys, I would look at it less. I would definitely put form trumps course history and even horrible course history. If the form is good, I mean, that's a way to find low ownership, right? That's a way to find low ownership. And I think it happens, I don't have the numbers, but I think it happens more often for golfers of, top 20 ilk. Now,
Course fit versus course history.
Yeah. Now, if you're looking at Pete Dye correlation, other courses, Pete Dye courses, Sawgrass for the Players, River Highlands for the Travelers, Zurich Classic, and PGA West Stadium course for the Amex. All right, so let's get to the main meat of the course. Harbour Town is a 7,200-yard par 71 with 4 par 3s and 3 par 5s, 2 of which are reachable by most pros. All of the tee golfers will have to deal with tight tree line fairways with thick woods, bunkers, and water being a problem for golfers who miss wildly off the tee. This course is a definition of target golf. If golfers hit it on the wrong side of the fairway, they might have a blocked second shot because of all the overhanging trees that surround the fairway. On the other hand, if they miss the fairway but hit it on the correct side and not in the woods, they'll have an easier approach shot than golfers who hit it on the fairway but on the wrong side. The fairways are tight, but over 66% of fairways have been hit during the tournament's past, which is above average, meaning most golfers will be hitting less than driver to place their balls in the right location. A lot of the fairways get extremely narrow around the 300-yard range, thus preventing golfers from breaking out the big stick. Because it is the average driving distance here is the shortest on tour at around 265 to 275 yards. The rough normally isn't too thick, but missed fairways could make approach shots much tougher into these small greens. We did see higher rough, we have seen higher rough here recently. I'm not sure if that's going to be the same this year. I haven't heard yet. But 2.5 inches of rough will make the course play, difficult. If it's 3.5, of course, it's going to be even hard. On approach shots, golfers will see some of the smallest greens on tour with slight undulation and an upside-down bowl configuration, which could make approaches that land on the edge of the greens more likely to roll off, leaving golfers with tricky up and downs for par. The greens usually play on the slower side, Stimpmeter rating of around 11, and the grass is Tiff Eagle Bermuda, overseeded with Poa Trivialis. Golfers will need to be accurate with their approaches, not only because of the small size of the greens, but also because of the obstacles around the greens. There are bunkers around almost all the greens. And then, of course, there's going to be water around a few greens as well. Another bit of trouble that golfers will face is the overhanging trees around the greens. A couple of holes actually have trees right in front of the green on both sides, making it almost like a field goal post, right? So on these holes, if a golfer misses a little bit left or a little bit right, the trees will knock down the ball and leave tough chip shots into these small greens. Only 57% of greens are hit at Harbour Town, and even with light winds, these greens will still be missed. Scrambling will be important. As we saw in 2019 one year, I think 3 of the top 4 finishers hit like less than 60% of the greens.
Yeah, it's an interesting golf course. It's something that we saw Justin Thomas do really incredible things at last year, where he wasn't hitting tons of fairways, but he was hitting to the right sides of missed fairways. You know, he was missing on the right sides because I think one of the broadcasters a couple years ago famously had Dustin Johnson on the coquina shells, which was hilarious. You know, the way he mentioned that, because I didn't even know they were called coquina shells, but they are coquina shells. And Dustin Johnson worked wonderfully off of those. So it was quite funny when that happened. But if you can handle those like deadpan type lies, I think you're good to go. So my boxes this week, Kenny, kind of simple. I'm looking for guys who's got accuracy off the tee. You know, who can keep your ball dialed in. I know it's pretty simple, but it matters here because you got to keep it in play. You got to, even hitting the wrong side of a fairway can, like you mentioned, overhanging trees can keep you from hitting the green because you're in the fairway, but there's stuff in the way. So Andrew Putnam, Siwoo Kim, Lucas Glover, Corey Connors, Russell Henley, Chandler Blanchet, Matt Fitzpatrick, Tommy Fleetwood, Colin Morikawa, and Austin Smotherman are your 10 most accurate drivers of the golf ball in this field. And then if you're taking a look at some ball strikers, I love to just see who's hitting their irons and their driver the best this week because we're coming through a really tough stretch of golf. We've got API, we've got the Masters. You know, these are courses that distinguish who the best iron players and the ball strikers in the field are. And over the last 6 months, we've got Colin Morikawa, Xander, Cameron Young, Scotty, Smotherman, Siwoo, Fitzpatrick, Oberg, Hatsatsune, and Sam Stevens are your 10 best ball strikers this week. So that's going to be imperative for you to take a look at who's doing their job at this golf course. And then course history. It's quite important, not nearly as important as Augusta, but this is, I'd say, in tier B, with Augusta being in its own tier of the next most correlatory golf courses on the PGA Tour. So guys that have played well here historically: Scheffler, Cantley, Poston, Berger, McNeely, Thomas, Spieth, Fleetwood, Noren, Sungjae Im, and Matt Fitzpatrick, with some honorable Patrick Rogers down there at the bottom. So we'll see how these guys all kind of fare out. As you can see, Scotty Scheffler has obviously played fantastic golf coming here right after playing fantastic golf at Augusta. Kenny, I'm curious how you're dealing with guys this week who have had like a gauntlet of golf, because basically the pinnacle of everyone's golf calendar is Augusta. Like you work your way around to either playing Augusta or you work your way around to like winning Augusta. And this can be a letdown situation for guys after, finally getting through the first Masters, first major. Who's going to be disappointing this week? Someone's going to let us down that we weren't expecting. So,
yeah, I'm not paying too much attention to that. I mean,
okay.
Most of these guys took the weeks before Augusta off, right? I mean, that was another big story. Augusta, where, a lot of the times, the majority of the winners there have played either the week before or 2 weeks before. Of course, Rory did not play, but he played Augusta a bunch of times, which, again, was another story that people were talking about, saying how it's not fair, even though I think it was just people that weren't really knowledgeable about the situation, which, I mean, honest, I didn't know early either. I didn't realize that once you qualified, you can play there anytime you want, like up to a certain amount of times, but there's no like set number, right? So, and of course, they're going to let Rory play as much as possible. It's Rory. That's what you get for being a winner at this event. So I don't think that was a big deal. But
yeah, what the hell is that about? People trying to say that certain guys only get certain practice privileges at one of these. That's like the whole thing about Augusta is meritocracy. Like you earn your way into that club. How would you let some people who are trying to win the same?
The only thing I could see wrong about this, and people didn't even talk about this in their argument, would be if you made it on the world golf ranking number 2 weeks ago, right? That would be like, they're the only people that have the disadvantage, right?
But were you qualified? If you are qualified at the time, Augusta will let you practice there.
Oh, even if it's not official?
No. If you're officially qualified at the time.
Well, that's what I'm saying. 2 weeks ago was
tough shit. Some it is what it is. You take off Houston or the Valero and you go and you live at Augusta. Patrick Reed, I think, spent like 3 weeks at Augusta leading up to the tournament. So do what you got to do.
I got no problem. But
Neither me.
I'm not worried about that. I am worried about Scotty, like a lot, but I'm not doing it without Scotty Martin. I'm going straight normal. Before we do the betting segment, let's have a word from our sponsor.
Sports are heating up across MLB, NBA, and NHL, and there's no better place to get in on the action than DraftKings Daily Fantasy, the ultimate destination for sports fans. Right now, our partners at DraftKings are giving new DraftKings customers a shot at a share of millions in prizes. Just make a deposit of $5 or more, and you'll get 3 tickets to play free, one each for an MLB, NBA, and NHL contest. It's simple to play. Build your lineup while staying under the salary cap, then sit back and watch your players rack up points. Every home run, every buzzer beater, every game-winning goal. It all adds to the excitement. New DraftKings customers download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app and enter promo code FGD to get 3 tickets, one each for MLB, NBA, and NHL contest, with a minimum $5 deposit to take your shot at a share of millions in prizes. So download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app and get in the game today. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 18 plus in most states. Restrictions apply. 1 pack per customer. Deposit $5 to receive 3 daily fantasy tickets. Ticket amounts vary. Valid only for single use on the sport for which they were issued. Tickets expire in 14 days. See terms as www.draftkings.com/promotions. Ends 4/30/26 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. Sponsored by DraftKings.
All right, so we're back. Let's go over the DraftKings betting segment. My first bet today is going to be Xander, 22-1 with 3 places each way. Xander looks like he's on the verge of a win. He has 4 top 10s in his last 5 events, including a backdoor top 10 at Augusta, where he gained 3 strokes ball striking per round. The iron game has been superb, and the short game, while not his best, hasn't been dreadful. As the most he's lost since Pebble was 1/3 of a stroke around the greens. He's also had a top 5 here in the past. So I'm going to go Xander first. Next, I'm going, this could really hurt me, but I feel like his number was wrong. I'm going Oberg, 35-1 with 3 places, right? Again, I could be dumb taking him again after his Sunday struggles. But the game is like too good to ignore, right? I would hope at some point he gives himself enough Sunday chances in contention where he actually finally pulls through. Personally, I don't think he should be like the 7th or 8th favorite on the board, right? Like he is right now, or it was this morning. I feel like his 3 place each way numbers should be closer to Xander's, right? Which is around 22-1. It was what I think that number should be. So I'm gonna take the discount and jump on him again. He is the number 1 ranked golfer in my model. Once again, he is top 10 in the field in every major strokes gained category the last 24 rounds, except putting, where he's like 27th. Right? I mean, the numbers are there. The visuals are there. Yes, the Sundays have sucked. There's no doubt about that. But
shout out the listener below who called him the SOS play of the week. Sucks on Sundays.
Yeah.
He just shut me down. It was one of the most liked comments below. I can't actually believe all of you guys just liking this guy's stuff, just shutting down your boys' picks. But T21 he sucked on Sunday, sucked all week. So shout out to that comment.
Yep. Next, it's this. I'm gonna go Victor Hovland, 30-1 with 3 places. I really liked what I saw from Sunday at Augusta. He gained almost 4 strokes with his iron plate just that day. On Sunday, he gained almost 4 strokes with his iron on Sunday and totaled over 7 strokes gained ball striking if you remove Saturday from the fold. Like the first round, second round, fourth round, he was like top 10 in the field. Right? he's so wacky when it comes with swing tinkering. You never really know what you're, going to get or what to expect. But that Sunday round definitely put him on my radar. Throw in the fact that he's been the best in the field from 150 to 200 the last couple of months. I really like him, and I was wrong about his number. It's 60 to 1 with 3 places, not 30 to 1. It's 60 to 1 with 3 places. And so I really, really like him at that number. And even the 33, 35s that are out there win only, I feel comfortable. I think this could be his week. Next, it's going to be Maverick McNeely, 35 to 1 with 8 places. I'll talk more about him later on in the show. Next, it's going to be Sepp Straka, 45 to 1 with 8 places. Proven winner. We've seen it 3 wins in the last 2 years. His iron game and short game have been really good. Course history here is solid. 3rd, 5th, and 13th here in 3 of the last 4 years. He's also won at the Amex, which of course is another Pete Dye course that they use in their rotation. So I like Straka, 45 to 1, 8 places. And I'm just going to go with the hot hand, Yellow Mojaru, 70 to 1 with 8 places, 115 to 1, win only. Again, just riding the hot hand with him. 4 top 20s in his last 5 events, including a top 5 at Sawgrass, another Pete Dye course. So the card this week, it's going to be Xander, 22 to 1 with 3 places each way. Oberg, 35 to 1 with 3 places each way. Hovland, 60 to 1, 3 places each way. Maverick, 35 to 1, 8 places each way. Straka, 45 to 1, 8 places. Yellow Mojaru, 70 to 1, 8 places, plus 115 to 1 win home.
Let's go, Kenny. Let's go. We're going to get back on the horse. We've come close. We've had the board circled, even in the weeks that you didn't win,
I had a guy in the lead in the final round the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Following up my 3 wins in a row. Like I said, golf gods, variance, it's hard to win on Sunday.
And I've had 2 guys in the lead or in the mix, Nikolai and Rosie now. So we floating around. We're flirting. So we'll see what we can get up to this week. I've got some overlap with you. Sepp Straka, 46 to 1 at DraftKings without Scotty Scheffler. I think Scotty Scheffler has a very good chance of running away with this thing if he shows up. If he shows up any one of these days and gains 5.5 strokes on approach, we're in trouble around Harbour Town because he's driving it so well right now. Like he was piecing it up around Augusta with the driver. I think that is a thing of the past. Remy, welcome to the world, Remy Scheffler. That he's now on Earth, Kenny, and that little alien in the belly, I think, is going to change his whole mindset. So without Scotty Scheffler, all of these bets, I've also got the top 5 at 8 to 1 with Straka, ties paid in full at DraftKings. Let's get that out of the way there. Sahith Theegala without Scotty Scheffler, 72 to 1, and then 11.5 to 1 for a top 5. If you take a look at what Sahith has got up to this year, we've got an 8th at the American Express, 7th at the Farmers, 6th at the API, 10th at the Texas Children's Houston. And if you take a look at what he's got up to at this golf course in the past, Sahith's actually got some really impressive track records at the RBC Heritage when I pull this up for us. I'm not taking into account anything Sahith Theegala did in 2025. I think he was injured, broken man. Course history leading up to that, we got a 5th year in 2023 and a 2nd in 2024 for Sahith Theegala. So, he finished dead last year, but he was a broken person, remember? So I think he's playing much better golf, did not play at Augusta. So I think he's going to be like antsy to get out here, to get on the course and just go and crush. So let's see what Sahith Theegala can do at that nice solid number there without Scotty Scheffler. So he can finish second to Scheffler at 72 to 1, 12 to 1 for a top 5 ties paid in full at DraftKings. Brian Harman, 80 to 1 without Scotty Scheffler. And then you can get him at 13 to 1 with the top 5. If you take a look at what Brian Harman's got up to at this golf course in the past, I think he's also one of these course history darlings. You play him at courses where he plays well. 7th, 12th, and 3rd in his last 3 years at this golf course. And similar thing as you saw with Hovland, Kenny, 33rd at the Masters for old Brian Harmon. But if you take a look at what he got up to at the Masters, he should have missed the cut. He shot a 79 in round 1 and finished 33rd at the Masters.
Wow.
So he shot 69, 67, 73. You know, he sucked it up a little bit on Sunday, but he had some really good golf coming in on Friday and Saturday, you know, shooting in the 60s.
I will say I bet him this morning and I cast him out. So he'll probably be the one that wins.
I would love your shitter take from me, like to take your sloppy seconds off the can and actually convert it into a golden nugget. You know, I'd appreciate if you polish this one up really good for me this time, Kenny, because I need it. I need it. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, right? So
I took him out to put Hovland in.
Okay.
Because
which
he
is
was
about
like
as
the one with 8 places. Harmon was, and then Hove was 60-1 with 3 places. And I thought about it for a little bit, and after remembering what happened with Hovland on Sunday, I cast Harmon.
Okay. Well, there you have it. Here's the polished nugget of the week is going to be hanging in my hands. I'm going to take it to the bank for us. I also am eyeing out Russell Henley at 18-1. I haven't pulled it. I'm going to pull the trigger on somebody at the top of the board here. I'm just trying to, see the tea leaves a little bit. Henley at 18-1 is fair. And like I said, he led Augusta in strokes gained approach. He loves this golf course, from a accuracy perspective. It makes a lot of sense. He's trending towards a win, right? Like this is a good golf course for him to do that. But I mean, I love Fitzy. I love Cameron Young as well. Like I'm trying to really figure out where we want to go at the top here, along with Oberg and Xander. But anyway, we'll figure that out maybe as we go through the DFS Blood, Sweat, and DFS tiers for this week's RBC Heritage and the DraftKings Slate, Kenny. We've got Scotty Scheffler a week after the Masters, finishing second at Augusta and gets chopped by $500 to $13,500 this week. And dare I say, we've got a bit more palatable 6K options this week anyway, given the fact that we don't have a cut at the RBC Heritage. All the signature events with a classic, invitational, usually have some sort of a cut. The heritages and whatnots that don't, you should see them playing all week long, the whole field. What are we doing in the 10K range? It goes up to Scotty Scheffler at 13.5.
Well, let's go ahead and piggyback off that real quick before we get into it. I think when it comes down to that strategy-wise for DFS, in cash, for me, is you're trying to get as many studs as possible in the lineup and then, maybe going somewhere super cheap as your last option. I think that's a good strategy for cash. Right now, I have a 10-5 guy, a 9,900 guy or 9,400 guy, an 8,600 guy, 7,900 guy, 7,200 guy, and a 6,200 guy. The 7,900 guys and up are the 4 that I really, really wanted in my lineup. So it was able to get me to do that. But let's go ahead and let's talk about Scotty. Yes, I will be playing Scotty. If I'm not going to bet him, I got to have him somewhere. And so I'm going to have him in DFS, at least one of my 4 GPP lineups, maybe even 2. Again, like you said, you can make good lineups. You can even go low 8K if you feel like it and still feel comfortable with the lineups because, again, once you're good, there's no cut. So I will be playing Scotty. He will be a 35-40% on there. That's fine. I think he's a very good chance of winning this event with what we saw with him on at the Masters on the weekend. So I'm definitely playing Scotty, but my first cash game cornerstone is going to be Xander at 10,500. Like we said in the betting segment, it looks like he's on the verge. 4 top 10s in his last 5 events. Ball striking the ball, exceptionally well. I really, really like Xander this week as my first cash game points. How are you going to 10K reach?
I'm going to do something really weird and go with a Statfish in the 10K range right off the top rope. When you're looking for a Statfish, you're looking for someone that's going to be giving you high upside. This is the guy that's going to be your first click in a lineup, right? This is the guy that you think is going to win you golf tournaments. This is the guy that shouldn't be constantly posting you T12s at Augusta whenever you rostering him heavily. You shouldn't only have one top 10 at this golf course in the past. I'm talking about a man by the name of Tommy Fleetwood at $10,100. I understand he's such a lovable buffoon. He's got one top 5 this year, T4, T7, T8, T10. I feel like that's kind of what we can expect from Tommy Fleetwood right now. It's just this solid golf that's just not being rewarded with any high-end finishes right now. He's the third most expensive option in the field. I think T33 at Augusta was a little bit of a disappointing situation. He's finished 7th here last year. Outside of that, we've got a 49th, a 15th, a 10th, a miscut, 25th. We're going to get a solid finish from him, somewhere maybe T22, somewhere T15 this week. Is that what you want from your $10,100 option? I don't think that's kind of my answer there. Give me Xander, give me Scotty, give me Fitz, someone that can win one of these tournaments, that's going to give you a chance for your first click on your slate to be in the winner's circle. I just don't feel like Tommy Fleetwood's giving you the juice that you're looking to squeeze this week at $10,100.
I will say I'm not playing Tommy either, right? But we did talk about last week where in events like this, where it's so top heavy and there's so many top end guys, that you look for the lowest owned golfer, in the range. And you just sometimes you just plug them in. My choice last week was Rory. Right? I talked about Rory last week. I said, I'm not going to play him, but, if he's going to be this low owned from a game theory type play, he might be worth clicking, and he definitely was. Again, I don't think Tommy is Rory. It's not on that level, but Tommy's still an exceptional golfer. Again, I agree with everything you said. I'm not going to play him, but I do expect him to probably be the lowest owned golfer, 9,000, 9,200 and up, 99 from Cantley and up, other than Morikawa. But I don't think Morikawa's going to play, right? And so game theory, this is the game theory play, probably.
And I'd say this is more of like a Statfish value situation versus a popularity situation. It's tough to go to a Statfish that's popular because he's usually doing a lot of the right things. But if I said, if Cameron Young was more expensive than Tommy Fleetwood, would you bat an eye? No. Russell Henley more expensive than Fleetwood, would you bat an eye? No. Oberg? No. Fleetwood? No. Jake Knapp? No. I think Jake Knapp is probably playing better than Fleetwood at this point in time. $1,000 difference, So I think he's just in the 10K range because his name's Tommy Fleetwood. This always usually comes, this wonderful thing about this show is this being recorded, and this will ultimately sound ridiculously stupid once Tommy Fleetwood wins like JJ Spahn did 2 weeks ago. Never got to shout out that Statfish, but shout out the Statfish for JT last week, who in majors is toxic. You just cannot click Justin Thomas at a major, T41 last week, for a guy like that. So in the nines, Kenny, you can start your lineup here. Easy peasy. It makes that Scotty Scheffler build very unappealing if you can go Cameron Young, Russell Henley, Ludwig Oberg. I mean, those 3 guys could finish first, second, and third this week very easily, Very much a chance that one of those guys is the winner.
With 3 of the guys you would have in a Scotty lineup.
Yeah, exactly. Probably even less. You'll be surprised. 13-5. When you were clicking that $14,000 name last week that just left you at $7,200, you clicking Brian Campbell's to get you home at Augusta. It's just not going to work out. So this is a nice, solid way to go about it there. Who else are you getting up to you in the nines, Kenny Kim?
So my second cash game cornerstone for the week is going to be Oberg. Again, number 1 in birdies or better percentage in the last 24 rounds. In this field, it is a no-cut event. It's all about scoring, getting me as many birdies as possible, for cash. You don't have to worry about a missed cut. So I'm going to go ahead and just play Oberg as my second cash game cornerstone. I'm tempted to play Cantley, and I think people are going to look at Cantlay and think he's going to be popular. But I think Cantlay has some of the Patrick Reed syndrome, right? I think people don't click his name because they don't like him, right? He's been playing pretty well the last couple of times. I mean, I liked him last week at Augusta. He sort of shoot the bet a little bit on Sunday, but he was like top 10, top 15 going into the final round. Of course, his course history here is incredible. Like I said, which normally would make a guy high owned. I think. What do you think his ownership is going to be? I think if his name wasn't Patrick Cantlay, I think it would be 15 to 17%. I think you can get 12.
The hard thing is how well he's played here. This is like a very course history specific venue, and he's got very good course history here. And people are sensitive to the last finish that he just had. He's got a 7th and a 12th now in his last 2 starts. So
maybe he will be. If he's what I expect him to be, 50%, I probably wouldn't do.
Yeah.
If he's projected like 10, 12, I would think about it. And I know it's a small percentage, but it's just something in my head. If
Colin plays, I like that option more. Because then Colin's right there by him, likely going to suck up a lot of his clicks, but doesn't project out great. And again, when last has Patrick Cantlay like shown up at the top of a leaderboard to like really, I think was here, like 2 years ago kind of thing.
That's why I think his ownership's going to be low.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see.
I'm
going to play one of Henley, Young, and Fitz. I don't know which one yet. I'm leaning towards Henley right now, but popular Henley is like becoming hot popular Decky. Right? I mean, that's what it feels like to me sometimes.
That was just the Valero, okay, Kenny. It was a weird Valero. It's don't like, God damn it, that sucked so bad. But Henley's so solid. His floor is ridiculously high.
Yeah.
His old Russell Henley's, And I mean, he's priced $9,600, Kenny. I click on his name and I believe this is correct. It says he's the 6th best golfer in the official World Golf rankings is Russell Henley. Like, you know what I'm saying? We got old Tommy Fleetwood hanging out there, $500 more expensive. So I'm in on Russell Henley in a big way this week over here. Cameron Young, he's either going to have a green jacket or a plaid jacket at some point in the next couple years, and I would be shocked if he doesn't play well here this week. This is a great venue for him in particular.
I might play the lowest owned of those 3. Maybe I'll go in that direction.
Between Oberg, Henley, and Young?
No, Fitz, Young, and Henley.
Okay. Yeah. I went and clicked the buttons. With Scotty Scheffler, you go to $7,300. With the other guys, I think you have $70.33 left for the other 3 names. If you go, the 3 big ones we like there, Fitz, Young, Henley, which will be an interesting start. But again, click how you feel like you want to. Getting back to where we were going here in the 9s, I think Jake Knapp makes a lot of sense as a second click, Kenny. Like he's just top 10ing basically everything he plays in. I kind of like him on these positional venues. He does some solid work there. Between Cam Young and Sam Burns, who's kind of entering this week feeling like they let one get away the most?
Yeah, I mean, Cam, yeah, but he has a player's win to fall back on. That's a pretty good fallback for the disappointment that happened. I like Burns. I think I'm going to play him. Again, he's been playing very, very solid golf for the majority of the season. He's had a couple of ups and downs, but he's had decent finishes here. I think 13th last season. I think I could jump back on board on him at 9,000 flat.
It was another tough day for him. It's some of his worst rounds in majors have come in on those Sundays. He's got some seriously ejecty type situations, but it was his best. Like I said, it was his best finish he's had, after ejecting so hard so early. The course history isn't speaking to me. His best finish is 9th. He could very well be a Statfish candidate, if I were to say so, at $9,000 over there after some letdown coming off of a really, solid Masters outing with very disappointing vibes, I'd say. after that Sunday. In the $8,000 range, Robert McIntyre apparently had a neck injury that we weren't told about, so that's what made him a giant whiny bitch the entire 2 days he went. Shout out Scotty Scheffler, man. He played with two delinquent children, like having to play with Bobby Mack the way Bobby Mack was behaving. We're flipping off the golf course. Shout out Sergio as well. We had to have a committee member come out and reprimand him for the course conduct. I'm shocked Bobby Mack likely got one as well. You cannot just flip off Augusta golf course. And although it was very quick, I cannot be doing that. And then Hao Tong Lee, shooting an 80. I think Scotty had two guys shoot 80s playing with him this week and still finished second, by one shot. Like, that could have derailed the lesser man in many, many other cases. Anyway, back from the shout-outs, yeah. Shout out Jordan Spieth at $8,800 to start off this range. Great course history, great form. Could not make a putt. The beauty about watching Jordan Spieth in these signature featured groups, Kenny, is you see, in Jordan's brain, a birdie putt and a par putt are like two completely different situations, because every single par putt was just back of the throat, boom, in it goes. Every single birdie putt, no matter how short it was like shriveling up a couple inches short of the hole. Like, that is the roller coaster that's Jordan Spieth. So lots of fun names in this range. Where are you going in the eights, Kenneth Kim?
My third cash game cornerstone is going to be Hovland. Again, I'm betting all my cash game cornerstones this week. Again, what I saw on Sunday from him was really caught my eye. The way he was striking the ball. If he could do that again, and he did it for 3 rounds, right? And I forget where he finished, 15th, 20th, something like that. But he did it for 3 full solid rounds, and of course the Saturday round was garbage. If he could do it for 4, he could win. And so I'm gonna go Hovland as my
shout out Victor Hovland's social life. He's now got a girlfriend.
Yeah, she's definitely hot.
Very hot. But when I saw the photos of them, I thought it was a relative. By the way, he was like my sister's first boyfriend. When we were at the golf course with my dad, he held her like Victor Hovland held his girlfriend, like on the shoulder type thing. Like, yes, Fitzy was holding her more like lovingly than Victor was, and Fitz was next to his wife. But worth monitoring, Kenny. A Victor Hovland girlfriend. It's a fascinating brain that we have upstairs there, that if it gets tinkered with in the correct way or the wrong way, we could see fireworks either way.
So going on in the 8K range, my hustler play of the week is going to be Maverick McNeely. I also bet him 35-1 with 8 places. Mav has a couple of top 5 here at Heritage the last 5 years. He's had a strong, consistent year, missing only 1 cut in 9 events and only finishing outside the top 30 once. And I think that was like 32nd. I like Hovland. I really liked what I saw from him on Sunday. His iron game on paper, and of course, his iron game on paper looks below average, right? But for the last month or so, he's actually been good with his irons the majority of the time. It seems he's had like one absolutely horrendous, like losing like 2-3 strokes with his irons, like 1 round in his last like 4 events. Outside of that, he's been gaining. You also throw it, so I think his approach numbers being skewed like that, I think will keep the model bros off of him maybe a little bit. I also think that the fact that Scotty is going to be popular, right? I don't think you can go up this high for at 8,500. And if you could, I don't think people would go to him. You know what I'm saying? So I think his ownership could be like single digits, even with his course history. I think his ownership could be single digits. So Maverick McNeely is my hustler play of the week. I am betting him also 35-1 with 8 places. I'll also be playing Goddard down at $8,100. I think that price is very, very good for a guy who's won twice, who showed his mettle the first time he's ever played, Augusta National. He'll be out there. I think he'll be a good play at 8,100.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what he does. Goddard and Bridgman both made the cut at Augusta. Shout out to them. 41st place finish for Jacob Bridgman. Chris Goddard, shout out to him with the 24th. So the one thing I am interested in on Chris Goddard's situation, Kenny, is how he gets it done in these big tournaments. You know, he's won the Waste Management and the Sony and the Genesis Invitational and the Scottish, This year, I guess the 24th at the Augusta is solid. You know, like we've seen a T18 at the Genesis Invitational. We haven't seen like high-end finishes from Goddard at these big boy events. It's interesting, you know, just a thing I'm noticing. Still, fantastic value in my opinion at this price for both of them. $8,100 for Goddard and Bridgman at 82 makes a lot of sense. I love the Victor Hovland thing with you there. I think Jordan Spieth makes tons of sense at $8,800 given this golf course. Monitor the ownership on Jordan. If he's high owned, I just don't think he's giving you the upside that you're looking for from Jordan. He's just like capped at T10 right now, in my opinion. Again, this range is interesting. I think this is where you probably be clicking your first Scotty name, and there's not a lot of names that I'm like thrilled about in this department. What do you think Shane Lowry's going to get up to? Do you think he's back to playing the golf he did for the 3 days before shitting his pants on Sunday? Or do you think he's back to just walking around with Irish nuggets in his pockets?
He's definitely
the place
worth
up.
looking at. There's no doubt in my mind. And of course, again, the ownership might be low again because of what happened on Sunday. But again, we're playing DFS. We're not playing outright betting. So you don't really need like a win from him. Can he get a top 10? Sure.
Yeah. And he's almost won at this tournament before he chipped it in the water. You know, so like he's capable of throwing this thing away for sure, which is totally fine for $8,400. Golfers in the 7K range, I think this is where I'll start finding some names, Kenny, that have got some warts, but, you know, can get awards as well. And one of them is Sepp Straka. I think we both bet him to win this tournament, you know, $7,900. You know, this dude's shown up the 2 times he's played fantastically. I've been at short venues, Pebble Beach and was it the Cog, right? Or some shorter venue that we saw some good results from other players. I don't know, whatever. You know, if we take a look at Sepp Straka's situation, yeah, Pebble Beach and the Players, that's where he's played well. This is a very similar kind of a venue. Shortish golf course, Sepp Straka, too much sense in my opinion. For a hustlerish type of a play, Ben Griffin at $7,800 is interesting.
He showed me
he was showing us a lot of stuff until Sunday again, where he had a big letdown on Sunday at Augusta. I was expecting him to potentially show us a top 10 at Augusta in his debut and kind of just shot a 77 or 78, which isn't going to get it done. But the fact that he was sitting T12 going into Sunday lets us know he's playing some better golf. I think I'll take a shot at him at $7,800. He could be close to coming back.
The first time I think I would think about clicking him. I'm thinking about clicking him in DFS this season.
Yeah. You know, it's mental. It's obviously all mental, the fact that he was playing so well and then just completely shit the bed when he needed to. It's been like this all year. You just can't finish inside the top 20 for some reason. So I think at this price, you can get away with it. Minwoo Lee, very popular option last week. The Augusta course history gods came to reward us. You know, Minwoo Lee and Fitzy were 2 of the highest owned options last week at the Masters because of the lead-in form. This week, I think lead-in form makes a bit more sense than course history, you know, compared to last week. So I think Minwoo Lee, some flop lag, great chance for him at $7,800 to be a good play for us this week, Kenny.
Yeah, Straka's in my cash game lineup. Well, we've talked about him. He's in my cash lineup. He's the 4th guy I definitely wanted on the squad. I've closed out. My 5th guy is Yellow Majaru. These guys aren't my cash game cornerstones, but Yellow Majaru's in there. Again, I'm riding the heater, 4 top 20s in a row, a 5th. The last time he played a Pete Dye course at Sawgrass, I'm going to go ahead and ride Yellow Majaru. He's also, I think, top 20 in my model. If I'm not mistaken, he's 11th in my model. In the last 24 rounds, 11th in ball striking at $7,200. I'll just go ahead and throw him in my cash lineup. Like you, I'm looking at Ben Griffin. I'm looking at Minwoo Lee. we'll go ahead and we'll see if I end up actually playing those guys. Who do you like in the bottom?
JT posting at this.
Harmon too at 7K.
Yeah. Harmon makes way too much sense. I think Marco Penge is starting to show us some stuff. $7,000 flat. I'm in. You know, I think made his cut at the Masters. I think that was his Masters debut, and played some good golf there. Then played some bad golf, you know. But overall, having made the cut at the Masters in your debut is something that I'm going to look for. He's 7K flat. I think Alex Noren makes a ton of sense at this golf course, given his skill set and just playing okay golf right now. You know, he's not necessarily finishing inside the top 10 at all, but he's also $7,000 flat, $7,100. So getting some love in that department. In the 6K range, Kenny, we got all sorts of fun names. We got Captain Keegan, Max Homer, Matt McCarty, Gary Woodland, Sungjae. Some big names that are playing some good golf.
I'll go Gary Woodland at $6,900. Again, we know his big thing lately has been a driver, but he's won big events on short courses, the U.S. Open, at Pebble. He's playing with confidence. You know, maybe last week was a little bit too much for him because of the crowd. I don't know. Just guessing here. With his issues with PTSD. You know, narrative, just throwing it out there. But I like Gary Woodland. I'll play Sungjae at 6,700 for this week. It should you know, he came in a couple weeks ago with that good form, played decently enough at the Masters. I think he ended up missing the cut. Maybe. I don't remember.
He played really badly. I think he finished like 48th.
Okay, so he didn't make the cut. And 48th, but I remember the first couple of days there was some movement by him. I'll go ahead and play him. My final cash game cornerstone is going to be Austin Smotherman at $6,200. Again, the strategy I'm taking is the guys I wanted definitely was Straka, Hovland, Oberg, and Xander. I wanted those guys in my cash line. Yellow Majaro just fits, right? And he's hot. So you got to go low here. And I'm going Smotherman, like you said, he's top 10 in accuracy off the tee, top 10 in ball striking, you know, and he's $6,200. I'll go ahead, and there's no cut. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw him in there as sort of a punt play for the rest of my cash lineup. So my cash game cornerstones for this week are going to be Xander Schauffele at $10,500, Ludwig Oberg at $9,400, Victor Hovland at $8,600, and Austin Smotherman at $6,200, and I fill out the rest of my lineup as of now with Yellow Jaru and Straka. Another guy I really do like in this 6K range, and it might be my favorite play other than Smotherman, is Jordan Smith at $6,500. Where is he at? So again, 7th in ball striking in the last 24 rounds in this field. I do like Jordan Smith a lot at $6,500.
Yeah, you go from your Jordan, I'll go to Michael. Go to Michael Brennan. I think starting to show some form, Kenny. You know, like T24 at the Masters, T28 at the Texas Children's. He started to make some cuts again after some really interesting golf to begin the year. You know, like he won out of Utah, and I think we're starting to find him showing up a little bit. Patrick Rogers is someone we mentioned in the course history part of this show. I think at $6,400, he's not a terrible option. Chandler Blanchet, one of the most accurate guys in the field. I think that's a perfect kind of a venue for him to kind of find his skill set for this kind of a golf course. Tom Hoagie has a couple top 20s at this golf course in the past. He's $6,200 if you're in the mood to sprinkle him in. David Lipsky at $6,000 flat is someone playing some good golf lately that I think you can absolutely take a look at. Sprinkles in some good approach play here and there, but he's been punting his brains apart and isn't going to be punished for too much lack of distance off the tee. Is a $6,000 flat David Lipsky. We'll see how he goes. Also, always got to shout out Brian Campbell at $6,000 flat. You never know when he's going to win a golf tournament. So this is one of the courses that I think could be one of those places after a really solid performance at the Masters last week. One and dones for this week's RBC Heritage. Kenny, I'm kind of still stuck in last week's mojo. I haven't quite thought of a name I'm going to be playing at Harbour Town. this week?
I mean, Xander, Cantley, and Spieth are on the short list. For international, I have no idea. We're going to have to dig for the international.
You've used Fitz?
I think so.
Interesting. Yeah, that'll be a fun. I mean, if you take a look at the flags up top, there's a lot of Americans in the 9,000 and above range. So that's going to be fun for you, Kenny. We'll see how it goes. I'll share my one and done on Back Nine Bets tomorrow, 3 Eastern. I'll be doing a solo show there, kind of just going through a bit more of my bets for you guys, kind of deep diving some DFS plays. We mentioned Yana already. I'm taking your questions as always. Use code Heritage 26 for 50% off your first month at the Model Maniac Patreon as well. Really appreciate you all for tuning in. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Don't forget to comment below who's going to win this week's RBC Heritage to win a free month in the Model Maniac Patreon. Mike, please let us know who the hell won last week. Congratulations to the 2 winners.
Yeah, we got 2 winners. We got Adam Kapner, 4137. He called the back-to-back for Rory. And then we also have Rod Grandy. I only see one Rory McIlroy, so I'll take him.
Congratulations to those 2 viewers from last week. You're going to find me on X at the Model Maniac. Message me on there, at me there, get my attention so I can get you into the Model Maniac Patreon, or just go over to the Model Maniac Discord, dive into that welcome landing area, and I'll get you pulled in from there. Awesome stuff, Kenny. Let's get some winners this week. Let's keep it rolling. You know, positive weeks for me back to back now in the betting department. So I'm looking forward to keep the ball rolling in my side of things. You've got to hold up your end of the bargain and keep hitting winners for us. So get us the hell out of here, my brother.
You can follow me on X at KendoVT. I have my final betting card. Any type of nuggets for the Heritage will be on there. You know, it was a great major. It was a great Masters. We still keep the grind going because that's what we are. Let's win some motherfucking money, DGen Nation.
I've been getting dirty money, Jordan Belfort, stacking pennies, stock